just love the drama.
Biggest U-turn since winter fuel allowance.
Cut that.
Because loose lips sink ships.
And what the fans want is to stop teams being owned by madmen.
Listen, you're really making a mess here. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. We're getting really cross with you.
The sticky patch came when the rest of the team's sticky patch came, which was sort of January onwards.
Grumble, boobs joke, hot ones.
No, let me tell you, I don't have to look at this objectively at all.
The Wednesday week!
Put on your podcast!
Hello, good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Wednesday week. We've got plenty to get through tonight. We've got 2 games, 1 signing, 6 bidders, and a whole lot of other nonsense to get through. Joining me tonight, I've got Beth, Terry, and Stevie. Beth, welcome to the show. You all right? How's it going?
I'm good. I was just saying before we came on air that I've spent about 3 hours making a pie. So yeah. I'm quite flustered. I've not eaten. But I'm all right. It's nice to be back. Been a while. First time post-admin.
First time post admin, I enjoy that. For the viewers at home and for the people listening in the car on the way to work tomorrow, what pie is it?
It's sausage and mushroom with a bit of cheese.
Oh, cheese, sausage, mushroom, and cheese.
So it's like creamy mushroom sausage, mustard, parmesan, herbs. It's good. It sounds a bit rogue, but it's good.
It does sound rogue. I'll not lie. I've not had a sausage mustard and mushroom.
Posh mustard as well, though, isn't
cheesy pie. Yeah. Terry, have you ever had out like that?
That's very rogue pie, but I'm intrigued now. I feel like I need to try it.
The recipe.
Terry, I am born and raised in South Yorkshire. I live for rogue pie, but that means something else where I'm from. Stevie, how are you? You all right?
I'm all right until you said rogue pie.
Hell of a start.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm all good, mate. You good? You doing all right?
Oh, fuck. I'm knackered, mate. I'm absolutely knackered. My hospitality life has taken over my life. And I have a kitchen team of 4 people. I fired 2 of them 2 weeks ago. And then one of them handed his immediate notice in today. So today, this Christmas period is not shaping up for a good time in the DF household. You know what I mean? And it's all going terribly. Listen, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to join us. It really does help the channel, the old like and subscribe and the ringing of the bell. I don't even know where the bell is, or so I'd be able to point at it. Is there a bell? I just hear the cool kids say it. You know what I mean? 10 years ago when YouTube was fun. And then also don't forget to get involved in the comments. We've got a few people join us tonight. We've got Matt Davey, we've got Fordy, we've got Super Owls for Life, Paul Farouja's on, Craig Hayward's on, John Wakefield's on. John Wakefield, who had the tweet of the year, by the way, and we'll probably get into that later on as we talk about potential tyre kicking and whatnot. Stevie, listen, let's not dwell too long on it because it seems like a million years ago, but midweek we played Millwall. This is the lineup. I'm struggling to make head or tail of the lineups as we're getting through it. But hang on, I'm going to have to say this towards the camera. Ike Ugbo got dropped, but I'm annoyed in which the circumstances were he's got dropped.
He wasn't dropped for authentic reasons, was he? But not for footballing purposes, was he?
Exactly that.
Yeah. But it's going to be an interesting show tonight because we get to talk about football and not actually talk about Ike Ugbo being absolutely shit, which I'm actually quite looking forward to be honest with you.
I'll give it a
change,
anyway.
But they're on screen for those of you that are watching live and for those of you that are watching back on YouTube. We can see the lineup: Horvath, Bashiri, Iorfa, Cooper, Maxwell, Amas, Valerie, Ingleson, Bannon, and then McNeill and Kadamatri flipped in at the top. Cooper made his first start. Essentially the same sort of formation and same way we lined up or have been lining up over the last few months. I think this was the game after United, wasn't it? So we needed a bit of a reaction. And I think although not necessarily the result that we wanted, I think in parts, even though I think, as I remember, Millwall tended to have a little bit more of the game and certainly more of the sort of the offense. I think the resolve and the tenacity that was shown by the players that were on the pitch was an absolute reaction to the abject performance in the derby. I don't think you could have asked for much more from one or two of them. I'd single out Bannon. I thought Bannon was excellent. I think he caught a couple of strays, a couple of pelters for the Derby performance, but I think he responded to that in a captain's manner last week against Millwall. Obviously, we could talk about the halfway line shot, but I think he was the link-up player. He was involved in everything that went well in that game, and I think up until they made their substitution, bringing Aziz on, it was a game that could have gone either way. Horvath had his monthly decent game. And Turner made a couple of good saves and got himself in there. So that'll be him now until Boxing Day. But you know, there were flashes and there were some promising bits in there. And it, you know, like I said, it was a reaction from the Derby game that we needed. But it felt like a bit of a kick in the knackers when the goal went in, and you kind of went all of that hard work and everything that we've done over the last 70 minutes or so counts for nothing, because you know when you go 1-0 down in your Sheffield Wednesday, you're not out of the game.
That's it, Terry. We've had, you know, I feel like the lack of depth and quality in the squad. I feel like if we're not winning 3-0 by about the hour 10 mark, that's how it's going to go most games, isn't it? We don't really have the legs to make a quality change towards the back end of the game, do we?
Absolutely not. And I think that the Millwall game, well, most games have proved that anyway. As you say, an hour and 70 minutes, it's almost like the shoulders drop. They're all absolutely cream crackered anyway. And then Millwall game, what happens? It's just they were getting corner after corner after corner after corner. I think they had something like 4 or something, didn't they? One after the other before the ball got half cleared. They put it back in and scored. So yeah, it's just we hold on for so long. I'd just love us to be like almost like that punch drunk boxer that keeps getting battered but manages to stay on the feet and then throws a lucky punch and we win 1-0. But it never works out that way, does it?
No, it never does. Never does. Stevie, you had some statistics for it, didn't you? Did you have corners on your stats? Is that on there? I know you did some prep.
The corners, we were heavy on corners. We were heavy on corners. That wasn't actually this game. It was something else we were talking about. That was a commentary game, but we'll get to that. But it was a game on Wednesday where, despite the metrics suggesting that they battered us, they didn't. You know, the eye test versus stats test are two different things. And although you can look at the graphic on screen at the moment talks to how many touches they had in the opposition box, 43 for them, 15 for us. The possession was negligible in terms of them just edging it, 54%, just under to our 46. But like I said, you wanted a reaction after the Derby game, and I do feel that we got it. I thought Cooper came in, made a difference. I've seen him for 2 games now. I like what I see of Cooper. He brings an assuredness into the back line, and I know that privately people have been talking in group chats and on social saying that, you know, he will be the kind of player that will bring the better out of Otagbeo. Will make a player out of Iorfa again, because Iorfa's lost without an old head next to him or an experienced head next to him. So having him at the back line, you know, it really did help. And I know we made light of it a couple of minutes ago, but Horvath turning up and putting in a performance does make a difference, because I think that sends itself forward into the back line, then into the midfield. And, you know, we kind of doubled down a little bit, didn't we? And sort of dug in and did everything that we possibly could to try and see if we could keep it at 0-0 and hit them on the break. But like Terry said, you get to 70 minutes and because the squad is so threadbare, you're on your arse, and, you know, where do you go next?
Exactly that. Beth, welcome back. Are you all right? It's been a hot minute.
It has. It's nice to be back. I've been cooking up some new agendas because all mine have expired now. We're in administration and all this is happening. So we'll test them out tonight. We'll see how we go.
Cooking up some new agendas. I like that. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through some comments that I've started this evening. And the Beth, you're catching strays already, babe. Sausage, mushroom and cheese pie, absolute rascal tackle, which I enjoy as a phrase. I'm gonna use that. Rascal tackle could be good, could be bad. You never know. I enjoy it. But also up the pies, all pies, aren't we? Matt Davis said, Dan, you should know where your bell is. And then John Wakefield said, I want that on a t-shirt in the tat shop. I think a reference to the Tweet of the Year award that I gave him on November the 30th, not to be confused with November the 31st. And in terms of football itself, Tim Wymark has gone with time to start playing more youngsters, rotating the squad more, and getting some game time for next season. Now we know where we'll be next season. Interesting thought that, Tim. To be fair, and I feel like we should talk about that later on when we talk about off-field matters. Slappy Gilmore has gone with love that analogy, Terry. Sheffield Wednesday, the Fabio Wardley of Championship football. And then Side Talk, we referenced him last week. Stevie said thanks for the kind words on the last podcast. And Steve, you need to say if you are for or against. Top podcast as always, lads and lasses as well. I enjoy that. You see, we're so diverse.
I'm for him. Do you know what? I'm for him this week.
Clip that. All right, then. So let's move on to other matters. Beth. We only done a signing, kids. We've done a signing. I always get this wrong because I always used to call him Derek Redmond, the creator of Grange Hill and Hollyoaks, as some kind of gag. But this is a player...
Not the sprinter, Dan. Not the sprinter. Sprinter.
A sprinter, what was married to Sharon Davies. Yes, also that as well. The one that did that really emotional bit where his dad helped him down the track. I can't watch it. I find that a really tough watch.
Mate, can I tell you just a quick story about that? He's not a Wednesday fan, so he won't listen. That Derek Redmond clip must have been played in about 15 different assemblies over the space of about a week and a half, about 5 years ago, when we were talking about resilience and motivation and everything else. Everybody it's the go-to clip. So if you are a secondary school teacher with any sort of background in sport PE and you want to link it to anything, I defy you to find somebody that goes Derek Redmond clip. Honestly, it's the most famous clip in school.
Far be it for me to cast dispersion on our education system, but that is a terrible example for resilience. That is awful. I mean, bear in mind, he got in this entire process, right? It was difficult. It was a difficult watch, right? But he did get disqualified for cheating, and he had to get help for somebody to carry him over the line. Let's not.
It's the whole never give up process.
Never give up. He couldn't bloody walk. He's making it worse. Know when to give up should have been the message. Christ. Could have been in a wheelchair by the end of the week. Beth, help me out here. We made a signing. Let's talk about Redmond. That's not a bad signing, is it, Beth?
My first two thoughts were I was really whelmed by it. I was just whelmed.
Whelmed.
It was just like, okay. I guess the free agent market in November is a lot of whelming players, so I wasn't kind of expecting anything crazy.
Yeah.
Second of all, he looks really funny in blue and white, don't you think? Cause I think in my head, Southampton, Norwich. After a quick Google, he started at Birmingham, so he's been in blue, but not in blue and white stripes. So when he came on Saturday, I was like, this looks so strange.
Yeah.
I think I don't remember him that well at Norwich. I remember him at Southampton, obviously been great. But my most recent memory of him is my old housemate was a Burnley fan. And I went quite a lot with him when they were in the Premier League, time before this one. And they were shite. They came down on a good company when they do all that stylistic stuff, and they just like pop Redmond on for 5 minutes at the end to run around a bit because they had him, but he was just kind of like there for vibes, there for these 5 minute spells. So I was kind of like, that's exactly the kind of player we're getting in the November free agent market. Whelmed.
Whelmed. Great way of putting it. I'm now getting reminded of various people called Redmond. I've got Phil Redmond, pal. That might be the guy from Hollyoaks in Grange Hill. That's Phil. That's who I'm thinking of. And then also whelming is the best way of putting it, Beth. I absolutely love that. Redmond and Cooper are exactly what we need for League One, from experienced spine to the youngsters. I agree. I think that's exactly what they mean, Beth, isn't it? That's kind of, regardless of their age, that's looking to the future. And the key, and Redmond specifically hasn't played football in about 18 months. He wasn't going to come on and set the world on fire, was he?
But we did get to see a player in a blue and white shirt actually like run into the box and try and cause a bit of upstairs. So that's pretty good.
We'll see how that goes. Adam Oliver has gone with Redmond sounds like cigarettes. I'll have 4 cans and 20 Redmond, please. And I've been called that. John Wakefield's gone, we'll be talking about historic tweets by those in the know. I obviously mean Fudge talking about Redmond. I had to delete some tweets, kids. I for those of you that know, I've spent a lot of time in Southampton. I lived there on and off for about 18 years. And I knew of Redmond quite a lot, and I slag him off so hard around the period when he was playing for Dem Saints. So it's no deleted some tweets. Let's move on. Right, next game, Terry. We got into Preston North End. What were your thought process going into this game? Do you feel like we could cause an upset, or are you expecting a tonking?
I weren't expecting a tonking, but I didn't think we'd get anything. A couple of reasons. They're obviously doing half decent, or they were prior to the game anyway. Not, added to the fact that our home form is, well,
trash.
There's no other words than trash. Everything that you could, stick in the dictionary that goes around trash. So I expected us to lose, to be honest. And it's not like me. I'm not normally negative, but I just couldn't see anything else, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I feel like the Stevie, am I right in saying here, and I'm trying to be diplomatic about it, there was a monumental generational head loss after the derby, and that's me being diplomatic. That's me kind of winding it in, because I feel like all of a sudden Pedersen was called into question. Some of the players were called into question, and rightly so to some extent. I feel like we can talk about bits where we've underperformed as well. I feel like Pedersen left it too late to have subs. I feel like Bannon got marked out the game. I don't feel like a winner like Barry Bannon would phone one in terms of endeavour, but I feel like it wasn't there. And so we'd all had a right mug on, right? Then away at Millwall, our second game in what would be 3 in 7 days, which is tough on a squad as threadbare as ours. I expected a kick in. We had a change up of formation. We finally dropped EK Ugbo, who's must have surrendered those pictures. Whoever's wife having an affair in an office somewhere must have given them up, and the negatives. And then going into Saturday, I was like Terry. I weren't sat there thinking, we're gonna turn up and do a bit. But there was another formation change again into, and we were trying to work it out, ladies and gents, off air what the formation was. So I'm going to put the line up now, Stevie. That's the Preston one. So this is, I want the Preston one. Never you mind. So Horvath, Fusiri, Palmer, Otabeo, Amas, Ingleson, Valerie, Bannon, Lowe, McNeill, Kadamachi. We kind of had this weird attacking midfield of Bannon, McNeill, and Jamal Lowe. Is that right? Or were they all playing number 10?
I looked at it at 1:45, and I think and I agree about the head loss stuff. Just before we move on to the Preston lineup, the stuff from the United game with Pedersen and Bannon and one or two bits. Bottom line, we didn't turn up and we were handily beaten, and I think we can all agree that we would have expected a little bit more on the team in terms of the performance on Derby Day, and we didn't get it. We've had to go down to Millwall midweek, which is a shitter of a place to go to. You're going to struggle to get a sell out there. However many went down, I'm not 100% certain, but you'll struggle to sell an away allocation midweek in London. But we travelled in numbers again, and I thought we were quite vocal. Credit to the people that were there. But there was a weird atmosphere on Saturday, wasn't there? We turned up, myself and Molly turned up at sort of 1:30ish, 1:15, 1:30. Then they announced the team. Hillsborough was quiet, Penistone Road was quiet, Herries Road was quiet. It felt like a little bit of a after the Lord Mayor show, if you like. It felt a little bit anticlimactic before we got into it. They announced the team, and it looked like a back four with Palmer and Otabeo. That was my first inclination, that we were going to play that. But once the game started and they lined up, I turned to my pal and said, "This looks like a 3-3-1 almost." Where the Valerie, Otabeo and Palmer at the back, your midfield of Ingleson. I thought initially it was Bannon and Amas and Fusiri. I had a brain fart then. Sort of in front with J-Lo and Kadamachi. Thank you, Daniel. J-Lo and Kadamachi in front of them. But it was almost like the false wing backs. That played either as a 5 and then a 3. But it became apparent that Ingleson and Bannon had kind of swapped, and Ingleson was playing the anchor, was playing a little bit deeper, and that gave Bannon a little bit of a freedom. And if when you look at it, I think on reflection, Bannon had that freedom to potentially, as we've just said, we were talking about it off air, a number 10 playing in the 10 position effectively, wasn't it? And I thought it was refreshing to see, because he was playing in a much more advanced role, and I think that's something we can tap into going forwards, because it's going to give him license to be that link player between whoever's playing up top others behind him. I wasn't mad at it. I was quite impressed with what we saw on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially given the manner of the defeat, if that makes sense. Beth, there was a little bit of I want to say embarrassment from the mooted celebrations that was Charlie McNeill scoring so early on. I feel like, I don't know. I thought they'd go nuts. I thought they'd go, yeah, go on, that's it. But there was kind of like well done, kid, when he scored, rather than us reaching for the skies, because I feel like they just knew it's far too early to score. That's a ridiculous time to score.
I was about to say it's like the definition of scoring too early. Like,
yeah.
I had no hope when it went in. With 2 hours a bit like, but yeah, it was a long old slog. And I think even at 2-1, even when we got given the penalty, you think about how these players are running for 70 minutes, and we just can't do very much at all for the last kind of 15, 20. You worry even if we were kind of 2-1, 3-2 up, these kind of scenarios. I don't think we're seeing any of that out. So it's almost like just enjoy it in the moment, enjoy it while you can. Don't think beyond the next.
Yeah. Just enjoy it. It's nice. We've scored at home, lads.
Maybe the players need a bit of that as well. Like, this is a long, grueling, horrible season. We're not going to get much joy. So if you're going to score a goal, even if we're 5-1 down, have a good time, lads.
In it. I tell you what, Terry, I saw you at the derby when we're on your front row terrible seats. Didn't look like you were having a good time in that rain, mate. But did you enjoy yourself after 3 minutes?
I did, yeah. Like, it's funny, Beth. When Beth just said then about scoring after 3 minutes and enjoying it, and we did. Honestly, we like me and Holly. We did. We absolutely loved it because we'd scored a goal at home. It's just, I've got a young lad with me who's only started coming in the last 6-8 months ish, and he's proper got into it. And he's not seen a goal for God knows how long, or it feels like God knows how long. He went absolutely mental when that went in.
Get him.
He loved it, and so we all did. I think it was just nice because we've seen it. We mentioned obviously the United game. I thought we started quite well in that first 10 minutes till they scored. We've seen it so many times before. We can kick off and that first 5-10 minutes look like we're having a bit of a go. We huff and puff, and then ultimately either goes to a damp squib, the other team will then score, or straight off the back of us having a decent attack, the other team scored, and then the game's done. So to have that first 5 minutes and have a proper go, and then score in that first 5 minutes, which was a really good goal, by the way. It's a really good goal. That cut back from a mass, and the finish is wonderful. I mean, you mentioned them all front row seats. They're perfect seats, Dan. I don't know what you're talking about. But we were straight behind it. We were literally straight behind it. And as soon as it left his foot, and he just passed it into the goal. It's a really, really good goal. So, it was just nice to have something to be happy about.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. And it's nice to have, people are happy about seeing you back, Terry, as well. We've got Neon Brown been on saying, nice seeing Terry back on the pod. I'm a bit late joining. His phone rung yet.
It's waiting.
I tell you what, let's normality was resumed, Stevie, but in the meantime, let's get some of this. So welcome back. That was a brief advert break. It wasn't Terry's ringtone. Normality was resumed not 7 minutes later, Stevie. And at this point, did you think, well, that was going to happen, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course you did. You always have that feeling that you're going to concede in those sort of situations that first 10 minutes. And you could almost see the moment it went out, it's one of those that played back in slow motion, didn't it? And you kind of went, oh, Christ, here we go. Ball cut back. Whiteman has just played it through easy as you like into the bottom corner. It's gone through a bit of traffic, if I remember rightly. But they were on it from there. It was almost like they were offended that they'd gone behind. I don't know if anybody else caught the reactions, but they weren't there celebrating. Really, in the first couple of goals, it was right. Grab the ball. Let's get back to the halfway line, because who the bloody hell is Sheffield Wednesday to try and take 3 points off us? They even in the 10th minute were set up thinking that they'd had some sort of divine right to go and win the game. And from that moment, you think normal service has been resumed. Fortunately, we go another 3-4 minutes, and then we go 2-1 up, don't we?
Do you feel that complacency might be an extra player on our team when it comes to playing Sheffield Wednesday as the season goes on?
I'd hope so. Do you know what? I'd hope so. And I think if you've got teams that don't do the homework or people that don't set up right, or they might look at our formation and go, we're not familiar with this or how they've set up. People are going to expect to come to us and go, right, this is Sheffield Wednesday. They've got nothing. We're minus whatever it is now, minus 10, I think it is now, 27 points off safety. We know what's coming. I do think that there's going to be an opportunity going forward. So I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, just super quick. There'll be an opportunity going forward come January, all being well, that we might be able to do a little bit of business that's going to catch a few people out. However, people turn up with an arrogance. I don't think if we're on it and we've got, at least 9-10 of our players that are with it, I think we can cause some damage. It just so happens that it's not happening enough, is it?
27 points. That sounds ridiculous. Terry, you're old enough to remember. What was that one that Leeds had when they went down to League One? Was it something like 30, 40 points? And Dennis Wise was involved somewhere.
Oh God, yeah, Ken Bates. Yeah, I think it were 21. Yeah,
21,
I thought it was more than that.
I looked it up today. The record is Luton got minus 30.
Luton
I think 08, 09. So I was thinking, do we go for it in that kind of grey area in between?
We can win.
The deduction and the EFL statement, but now it's like, all right, fine.
Yeah. I feel like that's definitely put the nail in what was already a big deep coffin. I tell you what, Beth, I made a point of skipping this past Stevie and making sure he spoke about something else. I actually worked on the rotation on who gets to talk about what, because there was one player that played really well after a battering upfield for the first goal for McNeill, and then the second one came in after a cross from a certain player as well. I thought this goal absolutely put the cat amongst quite the amount of pigeons, and Liam Palm was bloody brilliant on Saturday.
I thought you were about to ask me about Harry O'Mass, because that's all my stupid Manchester shite. He was very good, and he was another one that needed a redemption, especially after the derby.
He needed an arc. Yeah.
I think a lot of the players have restored a lot of their credit. Granted, we've not seen Takeover yet. But kind of thinking about the two games we've had.
Honestly, Beth, I mean it. I hope he's on paternity leave for the next 10 years.
What can you get in this country now? 3 months? No, a couple of weeks, isn't it?
I'm hoping Dan's got to delete some tweets. Because things change.
To be fair, Terry, I'll have to delete a lot of these episodes over the last 3 or 4 months, I think.
Yeah, it was great to see Palms doing well again. I think when Liam and when Barry have bad games, it feels like being a bit mad at something you shouldn't be. I don't want to say like a cat or something like that, but it feels wrong. I was really happy to see him do well. And while I'm here, because I thought you were going to ask me about Harry O'Mass. Fantastic.
No, crack on. Ask him all about it. That young man is going to be playing international football. I'm calling it.
He's been fantastic. And obviously I've watched a lot of him when I was working on the Manchester United podcast, and kind of had quite a lot of headway, what he looked like when he was playing Europa League and when he was playing in the Cups for them. But there's so many new aspects to his game that I've seen watching him for us that are brilliant. Like, for someone who plays so wide and so aggressively, he holds up so well for a young guy, and holds up, controls it, keeps it with him. He's got like Velcro boots on. There was a brilliant bit on Saturday. I think it might have been the assist for McNeill. But it's just like, how on earth has he still got that?
He's a very robust young man as well, isn't he? You know, if you look at like who was that kid we had? Was it Alex Hunt? And he looked like he was like 50 kilograms wet through. Harry O'Mass he's got his thighs and his calves are like, they're incredible, aren't they? How do you get that thick? I mean, all right, he's got short man syndrome, and that's how you get them biceps. That's back me up, Stevie. That's where it is. It's a short man thing, isn't it? Tall geezers don't get big biceps. So whenever you see these people on the internet, they've got these large biceps.
Long levers. That's what it is. Yeah. Long levers.
It's cause they're short. But yeah, he's a robust young man, and he's got a hell of a head on his shoulders. I hope some of the other players are starting to look at him, going, "Look at that, we're getting shown up by a literal teenager." You know what I mean? Because I think he's brilliant. Now, Terry, this pissed me off. This really pissed me off. That Cadamartri chance is got played through by Ingelsson. I would expect any striker at this level to at least test the goalkeeper a lot more than what Cads did.
I can't disagree with you, Dan. And the thing is, I'm sort of, again, I don't want to lose patience with players. Like we've already said it, they're under the cosh so much. But yet there's still obviously an expectation. We still want to win as much as we realise what situation it is. But that's his bread and butter. And when you look at what he's done, I mean, primarily more youth team for us, really. But when he was at Lincoln as well, he was putting them away. And yes, the keeper has to make a save. It's not a tight angle. It's not awkward. He's not being close. Yes, he's got defenders after him, but he's ahead of the defenders. You've got to be putting them in. And I do like him, and I don't want to be overly negative. But I don't know. There's just something. He tries so hard. He has defenders scared of him because he's powerful. He's a big lad. He's not too slow either. There's quite a lot about him to like. But at the minute, it's just almost like he's lost that nous in front of goal. It just it doesn't feel like it's natural. You know what I mean? It's like it's almost, I don't know whether it's confidence or whatever, because he's not scored for what feels like forever. I don't know whether it's that. But there were just, I don't know, I weren't overly confident when he went through, and I don't know whether it's just that. I don't know.
I think he's definitely changed in what type of player he is. There was definitely a battering ram in there. I remember him, smashing his own face up to score against, I think it was Norwich. And I don't know. He seems to have lost that edge a little bit. I don't know where it is. And I think you might be right, Terry. I think his confidence is on its ass. Where are we? We're half an hour in. Stevie, let's get to the they equalised. Of course they did. Let's talk about the penalty. The penalty decision's an odd one for me, because it got handled, and McNeill steps up and takes the penalty. I'm not going to talk about what the technique of the penalty was. I am concerned the amount of chat I see perpetuated by people like Rob Staton, for example, asking Henrik Pedersen this question directly, questioning why McNeill was taking the penalty in the first place. I mean, maybe I'm just an old romantic. Beth, you're the youngest one here. I'm looking at you, but us old men, us old fellas, us old people, we've known for years that it is a gentleman's agreement that if you're on a hattie, you take the penner, right? Beth, is that still a thing that they do in modern day football?
Yeah, I reckon. I'm a football romantic. I like that. Go for it.
I like that.
Go for it, Jess.
All right, let me just check you before I go back to Stevie. What position does number 4 play?
Fuck me. I'd say centre half.
You say utter woke nonsense. Modern football fans. I'm joking with you, Beth. No, but normally it goes 5-6 at centre half and 4 is your defensive midfielder. That's what it is in old money.
I'm not mad at that. Yeah, that's a 6 for me. I've been Pep Guardiola'd.
You've been Guardiola. It's all that time in Manchester you've been spending. Stevie, talk to me about it. Like, why are we discussing that McNeill's taking this penalty?
Because he missed it. It's as simple as that. Yeah. We're talking about it because it didn't go in. You can look down the line. I think somebody tongue-in-cheek put in the comments earlier on that Palmer should have took the penalty. Palmer took a good penalty against Bolton, I think it was, earlier on in the season.
So did McNeill, didn't he?
McNeill,
McNeill an anchored one against Bolton.
We put in the group chat. We've got the LMS chat, and I went. I think it must have been about 7 o'clock Saturday night. Am I right in thinking that he penanchored one in a penalty shootout, and we're questioning whether or not he? And somebody came back and said, "Yeah, I think I got the game wrong. I think it said it was a Grimsby game." However, he's proven that he's a decent penalty taker, or he's got form for scoring penalties this season. Bannon has missed 3 out of 6, I think it is. I'll stand corrected on that one. People looking down the line, it should have been Bannon because he's the captain. He should step up. He's got the experience. We automatically go to the argument that it's for sentimental reasons that we've given the ball to McNeill. I look across that 11 players that are on the pitch. There's nobody that stands out as an out-and-out penalty taker. We've lost Smith, who obviously was, the stalwart penalty taker for however long he was with us. Windass as well. He was known for taking penalties. We don't have those players anymore. And seeing as it's the first one we've had all season, how can we argue? How can we know? How can we say that, he shouldn't have taken that penalty? Take away the fact that it's 2 goals. If he's only got one goal, or if he's not scored at all, he steps up to take the penalty. I don't think we're having this conversation. I genuinely don't.
Do you know what?
Sorry,
I think
Terry.
the issue from sorry, Steve, I'll continue you then. I mean, the issue for me, the only thing for me that threw me was the fact that when we got the penalty, McNeill wasn't the first one with the ball. Ingleson had the ball. He had the ball, and everybody's going, is he taking it? Then Bannon had the ball, and then, okay, he's taking it. And then all of a sudden, Charlie's got the ball. And I don't know whether that sort of led into this whole thing about, we didn't know we were taking it. And as you alluded to, Dan, the question by Rob on Radio Sheffield about, do we know who the penalty taker is, etc. I don't know whether that was the precursor to the question. I don't know, but I don't think that necessarily helped. But
that's the way thing now, isn't it? Though that you give the player who is not taking the penalty takes the ball first to shield some of the kind of grief and yap and.
It's the whole Southgate psychology stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. Are they just trying to do the thing? I don't know. Henrik's
doing
very
the thing.
savvy,
I like
coach.
I tell you what, Beth. Before I come to you about wrapping this up, I've been corrected by an old man. Men on the internet are to be trusted, and where is it? I did click it. It said 4 and 5 are centre halves, as per Mark Smith and Mick Lyons. 6 is your defensive midfielder, 8 is your box to box, and 7 is your right wing back. 11 plays on the left. I agree with 80% of that, Big Revs. No, I tell you what it is. I used to have constant fallouts with this kid I used to play football with, who insisted on having number 4, and he got number 4 stitched in his boots. He played left back. I can't tell you how much it wound me up. He gave me the right ump. I mean, and that shirt was too big for him, and then they got him a new one. It pissed me off. A whole thing. Right, so they went up the other end.
I'm saying it's as bad as a left back at with number 2.
Or a reserve goalkeeper at number 2.
Or a goalkeeper at number 2, yeah.
I played Sunday League football with a lad who knew a lad who played centre half, and he was quite notorious in the Meadowall Prem. But in Dallas, he used to wear number 10 as a centre half.
Fucking furious. I'd be furious. Ian Barron's new to the channel. Says, "Can you see my messages? I'm new to the channel. They're right on screen in the bottom right there, Ian. So yes. And Big Rev's talking about the penalty. Said, to be fair, he had the nads to step up on a natural high confidence oozing through his veins. I honestly, I'm embarrassed for Rob Staton asking that of the gaffer. I am. I think it's fucking ridiculous.
I think he's asked it, but I think he was getting some on the phone in as well. I think people have given him the whole, will you ask him this? Will you ask him that? But at the same time,
absolute rage baiting.
It seems to be a little bit of a narrative now where the people that are phoning in, I get in the car at sort of 5:15, takes me 45 minutes to get home with the traffic. Will you ask them this? Will you say that? Get to them. You've got a line to the managers, and it's not just Sheffield Wednesday. Can you ask them these questions? And I just think we've got journalists that know how to do the job, and that's not me being horrible about anybody.
Don't caveat it. Sorry,
it's
Beth,
the BBC have got to serve the people. So Staton's getting all this.
I think he absolutely loves the rage baiting. I think he's great at it. I think that's what he does. He
knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. The shittery with Chansiri the last 6 months, he's had a big fucking spoon and just stirred the pot the entire summer and got everybody in a right old frenzy, like some of the in the no accounts on the internet. But we'll get to that in a bit. Anyway, they went up, scored. We lost 3-2. Redmond nearly got one towards the end, Stevie.
Yeah, came on. Did look a bit rusty, to be fair, when he came on. But there was one towards the end, right at the end, 90th minute. He's cut inside and his flash ran across, and for a split second, he had that hope that he was going to nestle in the bottom corner, but a couple of yards wide, unfortunately. Just one last thing to pick up. I wanted to sort of tip my hat to Cooper and Redmond. The stoppages with the balls going out of play. I sat on the south in front of the dugout. Every time the ball went out of play, they were arms round a mass. They were getting into the younger lads that were on the pitch, and they were offering little bits of advice. It was almost like they were doing a little bit of coaching and sharing their experiences as well, which I thought was quite nice to see. So it's not just Pedersen and the coaching staff. People are coming in like Cooper and Redmond, putting their arms around the players and sharing that little bit of experience, which I think is going to be really important over the next few weeks.
Absolutely. Anyway, Beth, wrap this up. Do you think we're ever going to win again at home?
I don't know.
Maybe.
It feels a bit bleak, but like what me and Terry were saying, I think it's going to be a long, old, horrible season. But when we do something good, let's go down kicking and screaming and having a right laugh. Like,
Absolutely. I love that. I love that, Beth. Let's just go down swinging. Let's go down swinging. Let's get in someone's face. Let's get in a tear up, just like I did in a man in a Tesla today. Wasn't proud of myself, but I'll tell you that story offline because I come across it. Like one of those. Am I the asshole? You know what I mean? One of them. A geezer's like.
I've got a feeling the answer is yes, Dan. I don't know. It's just something I get. A feeling I get.
Yeah. Well, what it was, right? If you're driving down a road and the other side of the road's just a complete standstill, right? A geezer in this Tesla's just come tearing out the crowd, like come in to pull into my lane. I've slammed the anchors on. He's pulled out in front of me, and then and we've gone around the corner. He's come up behind me and started giving me the gestures like Marcus Rashford, going, "You need to think. You need to think." And I thought, hey, Dan, here's an opportunity to be creative. So I got out the car and I screamed hot spittle at a man for 2 cycles of the traffic lights we were waiting at while he slowly wound his window up rather tepidly, which I really enjoyed. And then as I'm walking away, he decided to wind his window down a crack and went, "Yeah, fuck off, prick." And no. So I'm going back. I'm not having that. I'm honestly, I think I have more of a mug on about the weekend than I'd like to admit. So anyway, here's a little brief interlude for you there, kids. Right then, so let's talk about other things. Paul Stanley interview suggesting that the takeover deadline might now fall into the week beyond the 5th of December. Terry, we've been having this date in our mind for a few weeks now, haven't we? That the 5th of December was going to be the time in which the takeover was going to be completed. We've heard rumours of various bidders dropping out. I feel like that will be more of a smokescreen to say, for them to keep their dignity, to say that they've pulled out rather than, Chris Wigfield going, "You ain't got enough money to buy this club, so you're out the running," which I feel like it probably is. Is that correct? Is that your takeaway?
I think it's a fair assumption, Dan. I mean, and in terms of the date, I think for me, it's always been a little bit of an arbitrary date, more of hope than expectation. We all know that these things aren't done overnight. We're talking about tens of millions of pounds here. We're not popping down to Costco and buying a pint of milk, are we? You know what I mean? It's just, these things are going to take time. We want it to happen yesterday. We all want it to happen yesterday. And I think the one thing that Chris and Paul and the administrators have done really well, and it's just they've communicated really effectively with us, and I think that was just one of those things where maybe they gave us a date that they're hopeful for. I think it maybe was realistic to get to the point where they could sort out the wheat from the chaff by the 5th, but there was always a likelihood it was going to move. Because at the end of the day, if it didn't give some sort of date or some sort of indication, what's going to happen? You know exactly what's going to happen. They're just going to get, "Oh, when's it happening? When's it happening? When's it happening? When's it happening?" That's all that would have happened.
Yeah, you're right. I think John Wakefield summed it up in one of the best comments of the night. He's doing well, John, this week with his measuredness. John Wakefield's gone with the only mistake that admins have made so far is mentioning dates without caveats, which I feel, it's a fair point. It's not the biggest mistake I've ever come across.
It's not, but don't you think it's a little bit? I don't know. Sad's probably the wrong word, but like again, if you have a little bit of realism to it, as I said, I don't know how people could expect it to be held to that day.
Terry, you've seen people on the internet. You've
been
on the Twitterings. You've seen it.
Yes, I know. But you know what I mean, though. It's just one of those things. As I say, it's not going to happen overnight. Sometimes you just think, take a breath, mate. Whoever you are, take a breath.
Have a minute. Okay, so I tell you what, that would be a great segue into tonight's hot topic. Interesting topic tonight, ladies and gents. I see a lot online in reference to the ex-Newcastle manager, Mike Ashley, and a lot of people seem to be either mega for it or mega against it. And I wanted to know what you guys thought about it. Why are people so dead against Mike Ashley? And what do you feel he would bring negatively? What do you think he would bring positively? Stevie, I'll come to you first, and I'll go around the room about it. What names have we had that are preferred bidders, and what are your feelings on Ashley specifically?
It's a difficult one with Mike Ashley because he comes with a bit of a reputation for not being well liked by previous clubs, or a certain previous club that he's been sort of linked with, obviously talking about Newcastle. I personally feel that Newcastle aren't Sheffield Wednesday. We're two different clubs in two different positions with two different objectives at the end of the day. And I think that's a huge thing. People will talk about the lack of investment that he put into the club. People will talk about the lack of ambition that he had and the things that they wanted that he couldn't provide. At this moment in time, and we had a long conversation with this in the LMS chat on Thursday, and bless his heart, Lee Pearson was staunchly against. And I think what was lost in the conversation was that there's no absolute dog in the fight for Mike Ashley. However, dare I say it, would he actually be the worst thing? Because what do we want? We want, an owner that is going to be transparent. We want an owner that's going to be business minded, that's going to put systems and processes in place that are going to get us operating in a sound manner off the pitch. So you tick all the boxes, or you write out a criteria. I do think to an extent Ashley does tick a lot of those boxes. I'm not saying he'd be my first choice. Absolutely not. Where you hear the names that are being rumoured and the people that are talking about them wanting to be associated, or people that we want to be associated with the process, I don't think Ashley is anybody's number one. But if those sort of high-ranked, more wealthy propositions start to fall away, and it does come to pass that we're talking about Ashley, is it actually the worst thing?
Do you know what? I don't think it is the worst thing. But I feel like, Beth, I feel like we need somebody with immensely deep pockets, given how much needs to happen at Hillsborough, how much does need to change. And we spoke before a number of times about the in just putting your hand in your pocket for new players. We're talking stadium, we're talking infrastructure, we're talking proper ladies team, we're talking development processes, scouting, coaching networks, director of football, better point of sales, things like that. So but I think Ashley would have that in abundance. Imagine all the Sheffield United fans putting Newcastle shirts over the top of Sheffield Wednesday shirts in airports, things like that. We would definitely get commercial clout from it, right?
Yeah, I think I've thought a lot about Ashley, but I don't think I've figured out in my head if I actually want it or not. So maybe let's work it out on air. I feel like Ashley, obviously, he wants us to be the most profitable thing he can be for us. So he gets us, we go down to League One. He will get us promoted to the Premier League because that's where we can make him the most money. He'll optimise Hillsborough because that is how we can make him the most money. The merch shop will be amazing because that's how we can make him the most money. The issue may becomes, this is where Newcastle went wrong with him, it's just that they just stagnated in the Premier League. Obviously, they went down that one season, smashed the Championship, came straight back up, and that was fun. It's when you get to that Prem point that you're like, oh. But think about this in terms of Newcastle. What were they, bored? Their staff always got paid. They got a few fun signings every so often. I think it was the lack of direction. And what have we just had for 8 years? Maybe like the first 2 years of Chancery, we perhaps had some direction, arguably, but we've had nothing. Like, I think we'd just be so happy to be in the Prem. I don't want Ashley. I don't think it's the kind of the football romantic view of it to come back to that idea. We want maybe...
He's not the sexiest, is he?
Exactly. We want the richest man in the world who gets completely obsessed with us and just wants to spend all of his money benevolently on Sheffield Wednesday. And he does us the beautiful stadium and all of this and stays with us forever. Like, everyone wants to kind of like the borough manager, local businessman, runs you really sadly, maybe doesn't spend loads of money, but that's your kind of football romantic view of it.
Gibson's
this all said, I think coming back from the football Supporters Europe Congress in Malmo in June, there was some really kind of compelling evidence there about multi-club ownership, and I came away from the conference there thinking I'd be so upset if Sheffield Wednesday was part of one of these multi-club models, be it if we were the big fish or the small fish. I think that's terrible. And we obviously see, I know Texter's kind of out with the running now, but I worry about our position in one of those food chains as well. And Ashley isn't that, obviously. So I think all my ownership views are still quite muddled at the moment. They're all going a bit case by case. But I don't think Ashley's the worst thing in the world. I think he'll get us up. We could probably have a few really good seasons under him. And then maybe we reassess when we're at the Prem and we're bored after 2 banging promotions of the stadium. And yeah.
listen to that, Terry. Listen to that. You would absolutely snap your hand off for being bored in the mid-table of the Premier League, wouldn't you?
Oh, God. Yeah, well, that sounds terrible. Yeah, it sounds awful. I don't know how people manage being bored in the middle of the Premier League. But I mean, in terms of Ashley, though, I don't know. Like, I don't know. For me, it's just like I can't. Again, I'm a bit like Beth. I can't make my mind up. He's as much as he's maligned for what happened at Newcastle. Ultimately, he sold them on to them to become what they are now. You know, he's done okay, and then they've sold on, and you know, they've got absolute oodles of money now, spending God knows how much on 70-odd million on strikers and stuff after he's gone. The one thing about Ashley is I don't think he'd stick around. I just get the sense he's a little bit like what Simon Jordan was saying the other week. Come in and try and not so much nick it, as Simon Jordan said, but come in and not spending too much on it, building it up, setting it up, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. But I just don't see him being as the one to stick around. And I think we'd like a little bit of, I don't know, for me, I'd like a little bit of safety and a little bit of security. And I just think he'd be, come in, sort it out, make a bit of money, flip it.
I'll be all right with that. I'd be
all right with it. No, I'd be all right with it. But I just, you know, I don't know. Again, you mentioned the old romantic side of football, Dan. And Beth sort of touched on it as well. I'd just like somebody to be ours, somebody to call us own.
I tell you what, Stevie, I think he probably gets a bit of grief, doesn't he? Because there was that rumour that he gave Coventry their notice on I think it was the Rico back then, wasn't it? There was that story around that. But I think Coventry are doing all right. Let's be fucking honest here. You know what I mean?
But that's another argument around the whole business model versus football ownership supporter, you know, sentiment, if you like. We are emotionally invested in Sheffield Wednesday. That's why we do what we do. That's why we are what we are. Mike Ashley's got no affinity to Sheffield Wednesday as a football club. What he wants is that he wants to run it as a business. I'm just laughing at the comment that's come up. Flip that. He wants to run it as a business, and what he'll do is he'll come in, he'll stabilise us. He might not spend the most money. He might not do what we want and expect in terms of leveling the stadium or moving us somewhere else. He'll come in and he'll do what needs to be done to turn a profit. And I agree with what's been said previously. It may very well be that he's only here for 3-4 years, and if he can get a return from the money that he's invested by getting us to a point, I think that's where we're going to end up. And if he does become the next sort of owner, I don't think he's the guy that we're going to see in 15 years' time when we're telling I'm telling my grandkids about that, you know, that point where Sheffield Wednesday was saved by this wonderful man. It's not going to be the chairman that's in that situation, unfortunately. But it is what it is. And I wouldn't begrudge it, like everybody's saying at the moment. I do think that there is better out there. I do think it's not the most romantic of propositions. I know that Beth's got another sort of viewpoint on where she might want to go with things. She's had another thought on, actually.
Yeah, I like to zoom out and think kind of thematically and kind of try and understand why people are going crazy about things. I think all these names we've had linked, kind of Howsam, who the fuck else, Texas may be a little bit of an outlier to this, as is Ashley, but so many of these names that are linked haven't owned football clubs before. Like Ashley's and Texter are the only ones that we have the context for, who we can kind of dissect and look at and be like,
great point.
Oh, they've actually got a track record. So of course, in this vacuum of kind of news and vacuum of information, especially because billionaires are pretty private people that we don't know much about, I've had to try and research some of them for work, and it's like I can't find shit all about this guy. Like, of course we're going to dissect Ashley. Of course this is going to be the topic of conversation, but what we also know about Ashley is that he's a fucking cheapskate. Like, I think there's been rumours that he's perhaps already out of the bidding process. I don't know where they come from. My brain is a mess of tweets and news articles and all these things.
I honestly, I don't know what to believe anymore. I'm just gonna start sexting Alex Miller.
But also, we might not even get there if we didn't want to put the money down in the first place. Like,
I think that point there, though, I think that's come from the notion that he's lowballed last week, hasn't he? And there are people saying that you need to go in at this number, and they'd seen the proof of funds at 50, and then somebody somewhere had said something about 30, and then it gets leaked. Despite all these NDAs, it gets leaked that Ashley's only putting in 20. It doesn't matter what, if somebody comes in, let's take Mike Ashley's name out of it. Does it matter if they come in at 20 in the first instance? That doesn't. It's not an indicator as to how much money they've got to spend. It's an indicator as to I want this club for as little amount of money to spend as possible for whatever reason, because I'm not willing to spend too much on it, or because if I get it on the cheap, I can actually put more money into the infrastructure going forwards. There's lots of things that we need to think about rather than just going, well, he said 50 million, but now he's only offering 20, so he's a right cheapskate, so we don't want him.
When we spoke to Chris Wigfield, he said that 50 million was an arbitrary figure. It was a figure to go, can you afford to be part of this bidding process? And then let's not fuck about. When if you're in a bidding process, no one's getting anything on the cheap now because people are outbidding you now. Things are building up and building up. I think Simon Jordan said it perfectly last week, where he said Mike Ashley has put $5 on the table and said, here's a $5. Call me if you want to take it or not. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of like a half-assed. He'll flip it, he'll turn it. Will be a sustainable business model and all the rest of it. But I don't feel like he's interested in getting in a bidding war with these billionaires that we've been linked with. And if anything, I'm actually just interested to see where we're going to go. And I really wanted to pull apart that Mike Ashley dislike that people have gone for. Some of you guys have got involved in the comments. Talk's gone with Mike Ashley. We could have done with 3 years ago. Now it's like picking between Susan Boyle and Megan Fox. John Wakefield said, take Ashley's name away from the British billionaire who has owned an EPL club and sold to very wealthy owners and has an entire portfolio of rescue businesses. Alpha Life says, we need investment. Ashley won't upgrade or build a new stadium. He will just look for a quick profit. I don't know if that's entirely true, but I know he would be looking for a quick profit. Whether he upgrades or build, I don't think he'll build a new stadium, but I feel like he'd upgrade what we've got.
He's going to have to upgrade the stadium, isn't he, mate?
Well, he has to anyway, right? And that's where no one's on the cheap. Ashley's commercial and retail experience would be valuable, says Big Revs. Pre-admin, 90% of the fan base would have jumped to Ashley regardless. Jay Blog says, I think Ashley, it would be a structure on a budget, so we wouldn't get the improvement in the academy training ground, etc. I kind of agree with that. I don't think, if it's not a long-term project for somebody like Mike Ashley, I feel like the academy and training ground wouldn't really get looked at. Disagreeing with Beth, we've got, I support a multi-club ownership model. Talent development and movement becomes massively more efficient. I guess that's of course.
I think it's quite complex. I think on the surface you can see exactly why multi-club ownership is good. Like, obviously this kind of freedom of movement and the kind of the financial security you get from being part of a bigger kind of movement and a bigger ecosystem are appealing in our position when we have very few players and we're in administration. I think I went to the Congress in Malmo and there was a panel talk that afternoon by one of the guys who runs the news site Josimar, as well as one guy from Strasbourg who are under the umbrella of Chelsea, and then Brøndby. There isn't a English club kind of within the Brøndby model, but they've got lots of little clubs across Europe that can't remember who the big one is in that chain, I'm afraid. But if you think about the food chain of the multi-club, I think Man City is always the easiest one to think of because they're huge and they have kind of Girona, and they've got Troyes, and they've got Melbourne, and they've got the New York team. All of those teams that were individual sporting institutions in their own right have been massively kind of compromised because of their attachment to Man City. So if you think of Troyes, who we obviously got Ugbo from, I think they've had 2 relegations. They were a Ligue 1, Ligue 2, Ligue 2 team. And they've suffered massively competitively. That kind of competitive integrity of a team is like massively compromised. It won't necessarily be a thing here with the regulator coming in, because you won't be able to change colours, but we could potentially buy a smaller Belgian team or a smaller South American team, and they'd have to change their name and change their colours, and they would lose all the identity, like the things that we hold so closely to Sheffield Wednesday. I think when it's really easy to think of yourself as the top of the chain, but I think you just have to think about if the shoe was on the other foot with multi-club ownership, and obviously if we're the multi-club ownership little dog and we're getting sent loads of EK Ugbos, that's not very fun, is it?
Yeah, who was the what's up dog? Who was the top dog in Udinese and Watford when they were just flipping players between each other for about 5 years? I did, while you were speaking there, Beth. Thank you, by the way. That was very concise.
There's more, but that's the headlines.
I like the headlines. I'm a man in my 40s on Twitter. I don't have time for any of the story. I just read the headlines and kick off about it. That is the
if we
rules,
get a multi-club ownership guy, let me come on and do a PowerPoint.
I did look into the Bromby setup, and you've got Estoril Alcorcon, Beveren, and the Challenger Pro League, which is the Belgian. Is that the top division? I think, and they got Augsburg in the Bundesliga, Den Haag in the Eerste Divisie in Holland, and then they've got IFK Bromby across there. So there are a couple of top league teams in there. Presumably the Bundesliga team would be the jewel in that. But surely if we got promoted into the championship, from the championship into the Premier League, I feel that we would be.
I think an English team is pretty much automatically like the big.
Yeah,
club.
we'd be the jewel of the pyramid, wouldn't we? Surely?
Exactly, but I think you have to think about if we were, say, France was the dominant league and we were made to dress like PSG, live like PSG, change the badge to PSG. Like, I wouldn't be very happy about that because my family supported Wednesday for over 100 years, and that's not very cool. The Strasbourg guy made a really nice kind of compelling argument for it. Obviously, they're under Chelsea. There are only 2 clubs in that model at the moment, I think. And he was the head of their ultras, so he's a very gruff, kind of nasty guy. But he was getting really emotional, talking about how Chelsea is stripping the identity out of his club, and you try and kind of organise activities such as supporters trust isn't as good in Europe. As the kind of head of the ultras is the best thing they've got as opposed to a trust. So they've tried to kind of speak to Chelsea, and it's just a complete brick wall to be like, why are you kind of nicking all our players and eroding our identity and all this. But anyway, there's the end of my rant about multi-club ownership.
Well, I tell you what, Beth, Matt's gone in with, you do the cons and I'll do the pros in a PowerPoint. Looks like we're going to have a death by PowerPoint episode, ladies and gents.
Yes, it's a deal. Let's do it.
let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, so let's get into some more up-to-date news. Thank you so much for getting involved. And Beth, that was excellent. Thank you very much. And I hope I didn't interrupt you. I hope I didn't interrupt you too much because I get called out on the internet a lot more when I interrupt you specifically. Apparently, that's when I just get abuse on the interwebs. Now, before I move on to more modern news, as in the breaking news that happened today, Platform 229 has gone with big news today regarding next season. No additional point deduction. Also, Sai was finally exposed. I didn't really keep an eye on what happened with Simon on 1867 News. However, I very rarely like to be controversial. You know me. And from a personal perspective, I question a lot of things. I question a lot of topics that get brought up online and on a regular basis. And I don't always sit in a camp. I don't feel like you have to be in a camp on every topic. You can say this was good, but that was also shit. You're allowed to do that. And I feel that the decision-making process on a lot of things is like an arc with a needle on it, right? This is camp A, this is camp B on one side. And sometimes you work out the pros and cons and find out where you sit on each side. You don't have to be that polarized. When it come to me questioning Simon from 1867 News, I came under a lot of abuse. I came under a lot of abuse online, and I've been doing this a long time, so I'm quite thick-skinned, and I'll have a regular debate with anybody as long as it's respectful and we haven't got to resort to childish name call and give your head a wobble and all the rest of it. I don't like a Twitter pylon, don't get me wrong, but I'm glad that people are starting to question it and to find out what everybody's role is in this process. And I'm not trying specifically to fart around the poo, but I'm glad that fans are starting to question what they're reading online. And what I'm going to say is that I think Simon, what he did when he first came out on, I think it was the Wednesday Till I Die podcast, he came out and then he spoke a couple of times at the Trust events. What he was doing was essentially, and I don't think this was a contrived point, what he was essentially doing was telling people what they wanted to hear inadvertently. Right. So, you know, I'm involved in this takeover. I've been speaking to this guy. These people are going to move forward. And I think he genuinely believed that. Don't get me wrong. Over the last 4 months, a lot of people have questioned his integrity. A lot of people have questioned his contacts that he's got, and they've held him to account for the things he said. Am I happy that people are being forensically investigated? Yeah, and I don't think that stops at Simon at 1867 News. Don't get me wrong. I think we should do that with our prospective owners, and people can do it with me. You know what I mean? I've always tried to maintain a strong moral compass when it comes to doing something like this, even if I do get abuse for the wrong end of it. But I just wanted to say, listen, let's slow down on a Twitter pylon. Let's not turn it into an absolute, you know, shit chucking fest. We know that, and the more learned of you know that Twitter is an echo chamber specifically. And when I say echo chamber, it's a phrase that gets chucked about. Let me try and dive down on what it means. Is what Twitter does is realize what you like, what you enjoy seeing, what you respond to online, and it shows you more of that. The best way I can explain it is if any of you have got Instagram Reels or TikTok and you go, hey, there's a video I like, and you give it a like, TikTok will go, here is the same joke over and over again. And that's what it does. It pushes it straight into your face. And that's what Twitter can be like. And that's what it means by an echo chamber. It shows you what you want to see in order to keep you on the app. That's what happens. So when it comes to arguing with people online and stuff like that, let's have a minute. Let's just have a minute. And let's just ignore. If you don't want to get involved in the tear up, just ignore it. For the love of Christ on toast, it's already fractured online. Let's have a minute. And you know, for someone who's been on the back end of online abuse lots of years, and it's normally because I've said something stupid and I probably deserved it. Beth gives me a load all the time, but she directly messages me, to be fair. It's just worth having a minute. Just have a stop and a think about it. But let's move on, because I'm getting all preachy. We've had today 6 points announced, that we're going to get a further 6 point deduction. Terry, can you please try and sum up why this is a good thing?
The good thing is we've got it now. We
Yes.
don't want to start next season with points off. But yeah, it's a bit crazy. I mean, I said earlier before we started that it just feel a little bit though like that we like that kung fu gif where the guy's just stood there and he keeps getting kicked in the balls constantly. And the EFL are doing the kicking and we're just stood there and getting kicked in the balls, but we're just standing there. It's like, yeah, keep going, because we're still here. We're not going anywhere. Do it all you want. But I'm just glad they're doing it now.
Yes.
You know, because let's be honest, we've got to, like you're saying about, you know, we've got to move on. We have to move on. And while this, for the longer it rumbled on, and it, you know, and obviously the statement saying they're not looking at putting any more points deductions in. Good, we can move forward. So then the admin is that gets done. The buyer comes in. They haven't got to worry about points being deducted anymore. That's in the past, and hopefully then everybody, you quite eloquently put about the pylon down. We can leave that behind. We can leave it behind because I think that's not helping right now either. There's division happening, as you mentioned, and people are sniping at each other. No. Let's leave all the lot behind. Leave the shitty points deduction behind. Leave the shitty reign of the last chairman behind, and just move forward. Yeah.
We are mentally prepared for this being a long, shitty season. And Stevie, it's difficult when you're there in the moment to. You know, you see Bailey Cadamartri go tearing down the middle and then ballooning it straight at the goalkeeper. It's difficult not to go, oh, God, this team's shit, and just get really angry about it. You know what I mean? But it takes a bigger man to count to 10 and go, it's not their fault, it's not their fault, it's not their fault, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That we've spent 5 months, maybe near on now, talking about the situation that we find ourselves in. I know that me and you privately will have a chat. Ash, when he's in and about it, we'll talk about stuff, and we kind of, how do you put together a podcast and keep it going when we know what we are, we know where we're going, we know what the situation is, but we've still got to try and put across some sort of opinion and viewpoint and tread the line of not getting after the players that have decided to stay with us, or the players that we've promoted, or the players that we couldn't get rid of.
It's really hard. It's so hard. It's
You know, at the end of the day,
when you're a big gobby knobhead like I am, it's really hard.
At the end of the day, there's probably 5-6 members of that squad that we wouldn't choose to have. You know, there are certain players that are playing up front that are on paternity that any other season wouldn't be anywhere near the first team squad based on their performances and their goal output. We talked about Cadamartri and the fact that he missed that one-on-one. Cadamartri's not scored a goal in over 3 months, and at the minute he's our first choice striker. You know, we're talking about Jamal Lowe, the other lad up top, who effectively played midfield on Saturday because he's not a striker. We know what we are. We know where we're going. We're playing a right back in the middle of the park. We're playing a central midfielder at right wing back. And we've got an 18-year-old kid from Manchester United tearing it up because there's nobody else that we can have. The goalkeeper, we can't hammer the guy because we know what he is. Pedersen knows what he is. He said it in press conferences. We can't dig the guy out, or we can't dig these players out because we get rid. Then what do we do next? The only other argument that probably you could probably have is, at what point do we put the kids in? But then you look at where we are with Brown and Weaver, and I know that 1 or 2 of those, it's unfortunate situations, and we've got to manage them right. And I would argue that there's probably not a massive difference age-wise between some of those lads and Amas. However, you know, we've got a duty of care with those players as well, haven't we? So, at what point do we make those changes?
I don't know. January. I think somebody.
We've just got to get to January, mate. We've just got to get to January, and then see where we are.
Speaking reference to that, Craig Haywood says the thing with today's news is it makes us a better sell and softens the relegation this season. I agree. It's kind of like it's getting the pissed off out of the way. Like, I'm already pissed off about re-relegating in May, but it's kind of softened it a little bit because I'll be like, yeah, whatever. I'm on holiday. I'm in Turkey getting more teeth put in. We've got this one, Beth. Bethany is correct. That's it.
Stunning.
That's all it is. That will be available on a T-shirt from our tat shop as of tomorrow. 3-year ban for DC is a joke. If the owner takes the club into admin, they should never be able to pass the EFL fit and proper test again. Tim, I truly agree with you, but I don't think, unless he's on absolute crack, Dapon Chansiri going anywhere near a football club again in his life. But you never know. You know, it's football. These things could happen. J Blogs has gone with, I'm surprised it's only 6 points for everything, not even a suspended points. It's just bashed on, is what it is. They could have kept that. Like, for example, Leicester City have had this points deduction hovering over them for a couple of years, and they've been whitewashed and outfoxed and bamboozled. The EFL by the lawyers at Leicester, and it's still not really caught up with them. We've gone, smash it on us now, take it on, and I thank you. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, Chris Wakefield mentioned it though, Dan, didn't he? He sort of alluded to it a couple of weeks back, but there's going to be more points coming. And I always, as soon as I heard that, I thought they're openly trying to get this done now, aren't they? Before, it was clear, weren't it? Very quickly. They're trying to get this done and sorted and not have the Leicester situation. Oh, we can drag away. We all know we're relegated. So just pile them on. Just get it out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's quite clever. I think it's clever, to be fair.
It's what we need. It's one of those things where, look, we know the EFL's rules kind of push onto us as fans. Everything that they've got power over affects us rather than Dapon Chansiri directly. You know what I mean? But I kind of like that they're doing it over the line. Matt Richards has gone with a beautiful comment saying, wasn't he on crack already? You never know. Sam says, thank you for calling out the Twitter pile on, Dan. It wasn't necessary and on the verge of bullying. That's how I felt once I'd read it. I like calling people out, and I like it when people call me out. But platform 229 does go on and correctly as well, rightly so. Again, I'm not in a camp So I took on a role. He knew what he was doing. Fans fed off it in a desperate time for the club, and he's still doing so, even going as far as to criticise and put others down that don't go along. He did. I you know, that also happened as well, and I'm not, you know. I just didn't like it. You know what I mean? It's a difficult thing to to navigate. Right. So, Stevie, do I have anything else? Do I have any other business before I wrap this up? It's been a long old evening.
No. It'd be remiss of us not to wish Barry Bannon a happy birthday. It's his birthday today.
Captain's birthday. He's 55 years old. Congratulations, Baz. If you need me to put you in touch with a geezer in Turkey for the follicles, look, I've got a guy on speed dial. I'll sort you right out. Beth, thank you for joining me this evening. Thank you for not shouting at me for talking over you the last time. I hope I've been respectful enough for the comments to not tell me off.
Yeah, you've been very brave and patient today. Thank you.
Brave and patient.
It's been very nice to be back. Thank you for having me.
I'll take that as a compliment. Terry, thanks a lot for joining us as well. Last minute substitute was Terry this evening, and I appreciate your time. Say hello to Mrs. H for me, because she's probably she's feeding your dinner to the dog right now. She's furious with you, I bet.
Think about my pie.
Yeah, I am constantly thinking about your pie, Beth. Mustard and sausage, sweet child of mine,
and mushrooms. Dan, don't forget.
Which are the real twins,
God.
you know what I mean? Also, don't forget there is a group on Facebook that we have partnered up with to raffle off a couple of the classic football shirts, the Christmas jumpers. Tickets are available at £2.50 each, and they are available on the WAWAW. We're all Wednesday, aren't we? Wawa group on Facebook. If you give it a find, Matt and David will post the link to it in the bottom of the comments. Stevie, thanks a lot for tonight. Thanks a lot to you lot getting involved. I know it's been tough, and to have a few hundred people of you listening tonight, quite overwhelming. Thanks a lot, and see you later.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday Week, bringing you football analysis.
They said we'll win the league next season.
Bringing you modern references.
I did a little 1920s fist pump there. Not done that in a while.
If we could do just a 1-to-1, not me because it'd last 7 days apparently, like Craig David.
I should not have said that. I should not have said that.
This shows like you're mental. No, I'm not.
Clip that.
Bringing you terrible impressions.
Wibble wobble wobbly wobbly wibble wobble Cyber Jordan. Hey, you got to play a 4-4-2. I don't know where these jokes are coming from.
Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there, podcasts, etc.
The award-winning Wednesday Week. Join us.
Put on your pod